Well, thank you so much for coming back to our first gen college prep series. And my name is Nicole Mitchell. I'm the college and career counselor here at Norristown Area High School. And if you guys can just drop in the chat, I know it's just a few of you here, but more people are coming in. If you can drop in the chat and let us know yes or no if you were here the last time, yes or no if you were here the last time. Yes. I know sometimes that chat can be a little bit slow. So we got yes, yes. All right. So last week, we just talked a little bit about, how to decide what you're going to do after graduation, because we talked about the fact that everybody talks about going to college and everyone associates college with getting a 4-year degree. And so the consensus that we had last week that college, and we even looked at the definition of college, online, because we don't use dictionaries anymore. And it said that college is pretty much any type of education that you get after graduation. So whether it's some kind of training program, a 1-year certificate, a 2-year technical degree, a 2-year associate's degree, a 4-year bachelor's degree, and so on. So it's any type of education that you get on top of that after you get your high school diploma. And that there are many jobs that are available for students that do not have a 4-year degree that pay very, very well. And in some cases may pay more than students that have a 4-year degree or a PhD, depending on what it is and how well people do. So tonight we were supposed to talk about supporting students through the transition of college, but we're actually going to hold that one off until much, much later, because we actually wanted to talk about just some more application basics. So we're going to talk about part 2, application basics. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. And there we go. So you guys can see my screen, right? Awesome. So again, we're going to talk about these application basics. And so just in case you don't have my contact information for me or for the College Career Center, it's right here on the screen, the email address, our Instagram account, and also that's the same handle for Facebook for the old people like us. Your students will not be caught dead on Facebook. They sneak sometimes, they just won't admit it. We have our Schoology codes here for all the grades, and so we do put some information up there on the Schoology account. We have a YouTube account, and so this video and any other class that we have at the school goes onto that YouTube account. And then we also have a college and career website where any upcoming events are stored, okay? And then also, if you would like to make an appointment with me, or if you hear about any upcoming events and it says click the link in bio or here's the link, that link has the appointment to my calendar. There's another link that has the link to my bio, but I think that's on the last page. Okay, so you guys are in for a treat. We have 3 more classes left. And so on Tuesday, March the 23rd, we will do financial aid basics. And so financial aid basics will be presented by Citizens Bank, and they did a session with us last week, actually. And so they're going to break the financial aid process down very, very simply. On Tuesday, April the 26th, we're going to do how to make sure the college is a good fit. Okay. And then Tuesday, May 24th, your experience and expectations of being a college student. So the topics that we were going to talk about tonight, we're actually going to save them to that last session. Okay. And so on the website, if you see here, we have our college and career website. We have, some upcoming events that are either in our school or maybe some people in the area or across the country are having some activities that we can participate in. So these are just 2 samples. And so there's a virtual job fair that the National Guard is having. And so the next one is on March the 24th. May 26th and July the 28th. So it's all kinds of jobs, whether it's military related or just regular civilian jobs. So you can check those out. And then there's a big college fair through NACAC, which is a national organization for college and admissions counseling. And they have one every month. So they just had one in January. They'll have one this coming Sunday. I believe it's from 1 to 7. And then they'll have 3 in March. One is a regular fair. One is a STEM fair, which stands for science, technology, education, and math. And then they're also going to have a visual and performing arts fair. So all you guys who are artistic and, you know, do lots of performing, you'll have your own separate fair. And so the link for that is virtualcollegefairs.org. And so you can sign up for the account and then you can sign up for any of them, okay? So you guys are in for a treat today because we have our interns, our illustrious interns from the College and Career Center that actually will be presenting the information tonight. And so we have Miss Kayla Reeder, we have Miss Minnie Sai, we have Miss Catherine Precourt, and we have Miss Elizabeth Lilo that will be coming and sharing their levels of expertise. And so they're going to be talking to you tonight about how to build a college list, types of applications, how to request letters of recommendation, college admissions testing, essay writing tips, and other learning opportunities. So if you have any questions as we go along, you have 2 options. You can drop them in the chat. And then towards the end, we will allow you to either drop questions in the chat and or unmute yourself towards the end. You can do that. And then of course, when it's over and we turn the recording off, if there's anybody that has any other questions that they don't want to ask in front of everybody else, you can hang around to the end for that, okay? So why a first gen workshop? And so we talked about this last time, and so I'm just gonna talk about it very, very briefly. We've had a lot of requests for us to host some workshops for students and parents who have never been to college before, because there are a lot of terms or just a lot of things that people assume that you know that you don't know. And there are students whose parents have been to college 1,000 years ago, and things have changed since then. And actually things have changed. If you ask all the interns that are on the line now, things have changed a lot since they were in college. There's 1 intern on here, maybe 2, that were at the tail end of the paper applications that we used to do. Stacks and stacks of them. So things have changed, all right? So we're gonna go to each topic. When we get to each topic, everyone is gonna introduce themselves, the school that they go to, who they're working with, and go through their spots, all right? So our first topic, we're also gonna have Miss Catherine Precourt and Elizabeth Lilo talk to you guys about the first generation college group.
Hi everybody, I'm Catherine Precourt. I am one of Emily Shaw's interns this year, and so lucky to be working with Miss Mitchell as well in the College and Career Center. We are so looking forward to putting together our first generation college group to build off of these workshops. These groups are going to be open to students from all grades, specifically 10th and 11th graders who are considering and thinking about college, but open to seniors as well if that's something that they're interested in. This is going to be starting around mid-March, tentatively on Wednesdays, so March 10th, once a week for about 6 weeks, covering topics like time management and study tips, academic study tips, strengthening identities, facing possible isms on campus like racism and sexism and how to stand up and kind of fight those on your college campuses, syllabus reviews and help-seeking behaviors, and finally identifying resources and preparing for the challenges as well as the kind of successes that they're going to be experiencing on a college campus. The biggest part of this is the fact that this is going to be a really practical application experience for students. We'll be reviewing real syllabi, real schedules, and enabling students to have some really key practical takeaways that they can apply thinking about going to college and once they're at college as well. So I am going to send out an interest form in the chat. If you are a parent and this sounds like something your student might be interested in, It won't interrupt any classes. The reason why we're tentatively thinking Wednesdays is because of the time that it would take, and it won't interrupt any classes on the other days. So there is a spot for you to list out, like if you're a parent and your student is interested in, you can always include their information. And if you are a student right now and you're like, oh, this is something that sounds interesting, there's room for you as well to sign up for that and fill out a little bit of information so that we can reach out and start the process. And really quickly, in terms of just reviewing a syllabi, a sneak peek into what one of the sessions will look like is looking over the overview of like a class review. A teacher and professor sends out a syllabi, and that syllabi includes all of the due dates for assignments, the reading materials that are necessary for the class, grading expectations, and all of the ins and outs of each particular class. So we'll have a chance to review what that looks like and how a student can navigate that successfully, just as a little sneak peek into that. All right, well, now we'll jump into teacher recommendations and letters of recommendation in general. And let's kind of start with a quick overview of what a letter of recommendation is. It's one piece of the application puzzle and the application package in which someone who knows you or your student really well is able to speak to their attitude, their drive, their personality, and as well as like their academic leadership, personal leadership, personal plans, strengths and values that would make your student or you a really good candidate for the college that you're applying to. So considering the quick overview of what a letter of recommendation is, this is something that may be required at some schools, and in other schools it's recommended. Some schools may ask for max of one. I go to Villanova, and Villanova asks just for one letter of recommendation. But some schools have an option to submit up to 3 or 4 letters of recommendation as well. So considering having a couple people in mind for this is really important. A couple of people that you or your student could ask a letter of recommendation from includes teachers. And this is really important, especially if you excelled in their class or your intended major going into college aligns with the subject that they taught. So if you're asking, you're seeking a biology major and you're asking your bio teacher, that would be a really wonderful way for them to speak to the experiences that you had in class and the work that you did. Another really wonderful one is coaches and club advisors, especially this year where our classes are online, our teachers may not know us as personally. If you have coaches, club advisors, outside mentors, or outside school connections, such as, your pastor, youth leader, volunteer coordinators, anybody who works in programs that you're part of outside of school, who can speak to some of the personal aspects of who you are and what you bring to the table, are really, really incredible people who can provide a well-rounded understanding of who you or your student is to the colleges that you are looking for. And I want to open it up if, this has sparked any thoughts on who might be a good resource to reach out to. If you have any thoughts that aren't on this list, I'd love to hear them in the chat. Anybody who you think might be a good person to reach out to for a letter of recommendation, or, from the school or from outside in the community. And we can leave that open as I continue on and chat a little bit more. Manager from where you work, thank you so much. Yes, that is incredible. Someone who really can speak to your work ethic and the experiences that you have at a job outside of school. And we can continue on to the tips for asking for a letter of recommendation. So you or your student will become familiar with the Naviance platform, which is multifaceted in everything that it does in terms of creating college lists, which we'll hear about later on. But one of the key points of Naviance is requesting letters of recommendation. There's a specific spot that if you or your student are interested in learning more about, you can definitely sign up for a time with one of us, with Ms. Mitchell, to talk about that. as well as personally asking via email with your professor or manager, and those other resources that we chatted about a little bit earlier. Include a personal message starting, with why you believe that they'd be a good person to write you a letter of recommendation and what they could speak to. Can they speak to your grades? Can they speak to your work ethic? Can they speak to your volunteer experience, your leadership skills? And if you're asking through Naviance, consider following up with a personal email that includes talking points that you'd like them to include in the letter of recommendation, such as academic strengths, personal strengths, adjectives that describe you, majors that you're interested in, memorable assignments or projects that you completed in class or at a volunteer site or work site. And the brag sheet that Ms. Mitchell has put together, which is linked in this PowerPoint, and I can include in the chat as well, is an incredible way of formatting all of that information into one spot. So your recommender can look at that and form a letter of recommendation. Our biggest suggestion is asking at least 2 or 3 weeks in advance. You want that letter of recommendation to really shine for you. And someone having to do it at the last minute might not provide the kind of letter that you might want. And finally, thanking your recommenders. This is like a big undertaking to encapsulate a person in a letter. So that's something big that we recommend at the end of that process.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Lillo. I am working with Emily Shaw this year in the counseling department, and I am also a graduate student at Villanova University. Today, I'm going to share a little bit about standardized testing. So the big test that a lot of people probably hear about when comes to college admissions is the SAT. And this is a standardized exam that colleges and universities use to make their admissions decisions. It is a 3-hour-long exam. It's multiple choice and focuses on math and evidence-based reading and writing. This is just one piece of the puzzle. So this is a common data point that all of their applicants have on the standardized test, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. As Ms. Precourt just previously talked about, letters of recommendation is another big thing that admissions look for in addition to transcripts, GPAs, a list of clubs and activities, and even more. So this is just one piece of it. Another big test that you might be hearing about is the ACT. This is another standardized exam that colleges and universities use to make admissions decisions. It is very similar to the SAT, and colleges and universities typically don't look at these tests differently. So if you decide that you want to take the ACT versus the SAT, that is perfectly fine. You won't have any penalty for taking one over the other. Some of the differences between the two tests include different types of questions. There is a science component on the ACT. So if you are going into a major that includes sciences and you would like to highlight your academic achievement in that area, that would be a great reason to take the ACT. And additionally, there are some differing time constraints. There are more questions on the ACT, but because they are different, it could be easier for some students or harder. If you're not sure which test you would like to take, or which one you think is best fit for you or your student, it is recommended that you take a practice test, a full-length practice test for both of them to determine which test you think is a better fit for you. And taking the test itself. So you can sign up online, and those two websites I can put in the chat for you all. The first one is College Board, which is the SAT organization, and the second one is the ACT test. You can sign up online, and students typically take it between junior spring and senior fall. And if you may want to leave time, maybe take it during your junior spring, and leave time to take it if you would like to take it again in the fall of your senior year to help improve your scores. So while you can take it in that anytime during that span, you might want to take it earlier in the beginning of that time span to have room to improve your scores at the end. And as Norristown students, you receive 2 fee waivers for the SAT and ACT, and so you'll be able to also just send your scores for free after you get them to any of your colleges.
And let
Yes.
me just add, because we didn't put this in the notes, when you guys use the fee waiver for the SAT and the ACT, then you will also get waivers for all of your applications. So you should not be paying any application fees. There's some random schools that make you pay, but for the most part, we don't really have any students that pay for those.
Thank you for that.
All right. Thank you, Miss Lilo. That was awesome. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the essay portion. Next slide, please. All right. So college essays, they can also sometimes be called a personal statement or a personal essay. There's no one size fits all, and every college asks for something different. But what I'm going to talk about is the most commonly asked one that students fill out on the common application that Ms. Mitchell will talk a little bit more about. Essays are a really cool opportunity because it's like a way for students, like US News, this quote I really like. They're important because this is a student's chance to really speak directly to the admissions office. They come to life with an essay. They're more than the SAT number or a GPA. This is to show who they are. So usually the length is about 400 to 600 words. And the deadline is the same time as the rest of the application. So we just have a couple of tips that I'm going to go through. And here on the next slide are some samples of the prompts. And you can absolutely use the same essay for example, the common application and for a scholarship coming up. So I highly recommend students that, like, even if you don't like one draft that you write, don't throw it away, because that essay could come in helpful when you have another prompt. So I chose the common application prompts because the common application is an application that's accepted by hundreds of schools throughout the United States. So a lot of students use it. And a lot of schools that I see are, requiring students pick one of the questions. And I just tell students to pick whichever one that gravitates more towards them. And I'll talk a little bit about it on the next slide. So our tips for writing these essays, there's a lot to pick from, and really the sky's the limit. So our recommendation is that, you start early. Probably having a good solid draft by the first day of senior year would save you a lot of stress. And it would give you a lot of more time to proofread. So writing multiple drafts, proofreading. So make sure, they're not stumbling over a grammar mistake every 2 words. Share your essay with multiple people so they can give you feedback. This can include, your school counselor, your school counselor's intern, probably your English teacher, because they, write essays and grade essays for a living, your parents, your coaches, maybe your friends. You don't necessarily have to take everybody's feedback, but you can just know, how they perceive what you wrote. And make sure to be yourself, because it's impossible to read someone's mind and try to figure out what an admissions officer wants. So you can be yourself, be authentic, and make sure you answer the question.
And if I can add regarding the letters of recommendation and on the essays, especially with COVID right now and the fact that a lot of the schools are waiving the test scores, your essays and your letters of recommendation are much more important now than they ever were, because this is one of the only opportunities that some of your colleges will be able to get more information about you as a person. And we can talk a little bit more about that in our question and answer part.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Reeder, and I am also one of Miss Emily Shaw's interns. I also attend Westchester University. So today we'll be talking about building a college list. So when you are building your college list, it's important to keep these steps in mind. So the first step is to start your search early. So it is very encouraged to start searching for schools before your senior year, since you'll be focusing on your college applications at that time. So it's important to try to take college tours, and right now, due to COVID, you might have to do a virtual college tour online, and also to attend college fairs. Some helpful college information websites are listed on this slide. The first one's College Results Online, Colleges That Change Lives, College Navigator, College Board, and Scholar Manager. A lot of, well, College Board is like the most common website that is actually referenced for a lot of students. Next slide. So it's also important while you're building your list to try to keep a limit to 6 to 12 schools when you're mapping out your interests. So there are 3 different levels of schools that you can have in your priority list. So you can do from reach, target, or safety. So a reach school is a school that if your test scores or GPA is at the lower end or below what the grade typically, what the school typically accepts. The target school is usually when your GPA or test scores align with the school typically accepts. And a safety school is a school that typically accepts a high percentage of applicants or your GPA and your test scores are well qualified for that school. So there are 2 different types of schools. So we have public, private schools, and state related. And you also can do a mix. So a public school is a more affordable and less selective when admitting students. So when you think of a public school around here, Westchester is one of them. A private college or university is typically more expensive and is more selective when admitting students. So a school like that around here is Bryn Mawr College. And when we're talking about a mixed school, so that could be like a 2-year or 4-year college. So when you think about college, like Ms. Mitchell has said earlier, you think about 4-year college. So that could be a school where you're earning a bachelor's degree. So around here, that's like Temple University. But there's the option of also going to a 2-year school. And that's a school that you can earn an associate's degree. So around here, that is Montgomery County Community College. So you don't always have to just pick one or the other. You can actually mix it. So the mixing portion is you can start off at a 2-year school, and then you can finish off at a 4-year school. So you can start off at Montgomery Community College, and then you can transfer over to Temple. It's also important to make a good SLAM list. So a SLAM list, as you can see, the acronyms are for social, location, academics, and money. So when you think of the social portion of it, that can be a school that you think fits your most interest. So that can be a school that you want to go in a metro area. It could be a rural area. You can also think of the size of the student population. It's also the student climate. So if the school's really interested in sports, activism, diversity. For the location, that can be, do you want to go to a school that's close? That could be like a couple miles away from home. Or do you want to go to a school that is a couple hours away from home? So you can think of the location of that as well. And then for academics, think of a school and their majors. What major that they offer interests you? And for money, that's when you try to think of what school that you can possibly like qualify for financial aid or scholarships for. So when you're looking at tuition, just think about some other, can you guys see me? Okay, my internet said unstable. Yes, so just don't rule out a school based off the tuition. So figure out what you qualify for financial aid. Financial aid helps make the final cost of tuition become more affordable. Scholarships also help alleviate the final cost of tuition and allow students to attend certain colleges and universities free of cost at sometimes. And also too, when you're thinking about, when you're thinking about the money portion, think about the end factor. How much are you willing to pay monthly? And also how much debt will you collect over time? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You guys did an awesome job on every single topic there. And so we have 1 or 2 more sections, and then we can open it up for questions and answers. And so I want to talk about applications. So when you guys are filling out applications, you have a couple of different options. And so the first option, of course, is that you can fill out the application on the website of the school. And so you can go to the website and they have their own application there that you can fill out, and it asks you questions, you know, just the basic questions that you would have on a regular job application. And then they'll go deeper and ask questions about parents and classes and things like that. Most of the time there is a fee associated when you do fill out the application. But a lot of times now, a lot of schools have waived applications, whether it's free when you fill it out, or sometimes they may give you a code that you can use. So if you guys can get the code, then you don't need to get the waiver from the counselor. But you can always, if you don't have a code for a college, you can also get in contact with one of your counselors, and we have a list of codes that schools give us, and we can give you those codes, and or we can give you what's called a fee waiver that's electronic, and we can submit that. So one of the main sources that students use to fill out applications nowadays is called the Common Application. And so the Common App here, over to your left, about 900 schools use the Common Application. And so what happens with that application is you fill out the application one time, and it is a rather long application, but then once you fill out the application, then you can look to see what other schools are in there, what you would have done first too. Look to see, so if you have 2 or more schools that use the Common Application, then definitely fill this out. And so you can just keep adding schools to the list, and then each school may have what's called a prompt. So when you were listening to Ms. Sy earlier, and she had the screen of all those prompts, prompt is just a fancy word for essay. So they have 7 different questions that they may ask you. So all of those schools will share those 7 questions, and they may just, you know, pick 1 or 2, and then each application may have another small essay that's 100 words or 200 words in addition to whatever they have there. So a lot of students use this Common App. Then you also have what's called the Common Black Application. And so there are a whole bunch, there are 101 or 105 what's called HBCUs, or historically Black colleges and universities. And so you don't have to be an African-American student to go to an HBCU. It's just that those schools traditionally, when they were first founded, serviced African-American students because they weren't allowed to go to any other colleges. And so 101 of those colleges are still in existence. And they have heavy recruitment. So our Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, graduated from Howard University, which is an HBCU. I graduated from Lincoln University, which is an HBCU. So on this one, I think there are about 50 or 70 schools on here. You pay 1 fee, and then you can fill out as many applications as you want for that 1 fee. And then the third application that people use is called the Coalition for College Access. And so this application, I believe now has about 90 schools connected to it. And they have some other options here for students that are have a lower income or are first generation college students. They have some special services or extra sites that students can go to on this particular application, but anyone can fill out that application. So those are the 3 main types of applications that people use. So I have one more thing to discuss, but do you guys have any questions you want to drop in the chat? Any questions at all? Okay. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to show you guys a brief video. It's about 5 or 6 minutes. And so this is a video that one of our interns from last semester did on how to create a college list on Naviance. Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Miss Lennox.
And I'm going to pause it. Can you guys hear that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
And I'm Miss McGowan's intern in the counseling department. I'm an intern from Westchester University, and today I'm here to show you how to use Naviance in order to apply to schools. As you guys start this application process, it's really important you guys have a good understanding of how to do this. So I'm going to share my screen to the Naviance homepage, which you guys can get to via Norristown's website and through your student email. And the first thing I want you guys to note is that if you scroll down to the What's New, Ms. Mitchell has added in all the universities that will be stopping in to do information sessions. And I highly recommend you look through these via the Show More button down here in order to see if any schools that you're interested in are doing so. Those will be running from September until November. We're going to scroll back up to the top here and go to this colleges button though, right on the top right. And I'm going to hit colleges home. So if you guys know a specific school that you want to apply to, you are going to do so in this search bar. So I had already searched Westchester and opened the Westchester University link. So it's going to pop up with this information and it's going to bring you to the Westchester University Naviance website, where you can do things like view a virtual tour, communicate, apply online. You can also do things such as heart this one. And I liked Westchester University already, which adds it to my favorite and I'm thinking about. Or if you're not really sure and you're thinking about where do I start, what schools do I want to go to, you can click Supermatch. And when you go to Supermatch, you're going to look at a list of criteria that can let you pick what you're interested in. So I already added in location, major, and student body size. If I was interested in athletics or costs, I could definitely have added that into my must-have. Or I could have added it into my nice-to-have, things that are important but aren't an absolute must. And when you scroll down, it'll give you a list of institutions that match based on your criteria. So for example, it will give you a fit score for Stevens Institute of Technology. And then I'll show you an academic match. And that means it'll be the average GPA, SAT, and ACT score. So you can see if you match for that portion of the school as well. When you decide you like a school enough and that it fits you, you are going to scroll down and decide to favorite it. So I decided I like East Stroudsburg University, and I'm going to favorite that. Now that I've done that, I'm going to scroll back up and go to my colleges button to colleges I'm thinking about, where all of your favorite universities and colleges will go. So as you can see, I have already favorited quite a few that I'm thinking of applying to. And you can see East Stroudsburg was just added in. One thing that's really important to note is the delivery type right here means the way that they're going to accept applications. So if they accept the Common App, you'll see the CA. If they just accept an electronic application, that's fine too. You can do that all on Naviance, and you'll see that description right here. You're also going to see the multiple deadlines. So that means deadlines for specific applications, whether it's rolling, other, regular decision, international. When you decide you want to apply to a school and it's already in your favorites, you are going to go ahead and click that. So I want to apply to Kutztown. So I'm going to check Kutztown University off. I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to click Move to Application. And this is going to take you right into that application process for Kutztown University. And I'm going to decide if I want to do rolling for the fall, spring, transfer, or other rolling fall. So I'm going to click rolling for fall. And that'll be due June 1st, but obviously I'm doing it a little earlier. And then we're going to click how we want to submit it. So I want to do it via the Common App. And I've either already sent my application if it was one online, or I'm just going to add the application. So I'm going to say I've already sent it, and I want to add and request transcripts. So you're going to get to the step 2. And here you're going to determine what type of transcript you're requesting from the counseling office. So I'm going to request mid-year and initial transcript for them to send over. You're also going to determine if you want to send your SAT scores and your ACT scores or not. Because a lot of schools aren't requiring them as much, and because there's been a lack of opportunity to take them, it's okay to not attach them. But if you want to be qualified for specific scholarships, you might have to. So I'm going to decide that I don't want to attach mine and therefore leave them unchecked. And then where I'm sending them, if I have no preference, then I'm going to leave that blank. If I do, I'm going to click the down button, search, and I'm going to search. Done. And I'm going to do request and finish. So now I've successfully added a college application and received a transcript request for my school counseling. And if I want to keep checking in on where my application process is, I'm going to go to Application Milestones. And here you'll see that I've applied to Bloomsburg, Drexel, Mansfield University of Pennsylvania, and Kutztown. And all of my applications are pending. So as the school and I add things on, I'm going to see this percentage number right here keep going up until I have 100% applied to that school. I hope this was helpful for you guys, and I will be doing more on how to do recommendation letters as well. Thank you.
All right. So that was another example of, let me make sure that I have this. Hold on one second. So that was another example of some of the things that are on our YouTube page. And let me find the presentation because I kind of lost it. Let me stop sharing for a second. So those are just some examples of what is on our YouTube page. And so there are plenty of other videos that you can find there. And so let me share my screen again. I got 2 more slides and then we're done actually. All right, so just to circle back, and this is the big college fair that we talked about earlier on. And again, I just keep pumping this because we normally have physical fairs, and since we're in COVID, we don't. So these are all the dates. And again, you can go to virtualcollegefairs.org, and that link that I put in the chat, and I'll put it back in here again. You can find the link to that here. And again, there are over 600 colleges that are going to be at this event, all right? And if you guys can drop some comments in the chat, our interns, they're actually going to their classes tonight. So if you can just give them some love on the presentation that they did tonight before they go, it would be greatly appreciated if you can tell them what you learned in your sessions with them tonight. They did a great job. And again, here are my contact information if you came in a little bit late of how you can access me and any other counselors here at the College and Career Center. So you can take a picture of that if you like. And then we are here open for questions and answers. So we just wanted to get straight to the point tonight. So at this point, if you guys want to ask any questions, you can unmute yourself, or you can feel free to drop your questions in the chat. So any questions? I know that there is a comment that I want to make. So when in that video, the intern was talking about building the college list, and you can pick certain types of deadlines. And so that's something that we'll go into more detail in another session, but you have different types of deadlines for your application. So you have something called your regular decision. So that means that it has an actual date of January 1st or January 15th or February 1st. So back in the day, we only had one deadline, right? And so now they have all different types. So that's your regular deadline. Then you have a rolling deadline. And so with that school, they don't have a deadline. They just keep accepting applications until they fill their quota or fill the spaces that they need to create their class. Then you may have heard of something called early decision, or ED. So early decision means that you're going to apply early, like in November or December, and whatever school that you are applying to, that school is going to be your first and only choice. And if you get accepted into that particular school, they are expecting you to go. So you only want to apply early decision if financial aid is not a huge issue, and that you are committed to take whatever financial aid package they give you. And we'll go into way more detail about that in another session. Then there's another application deadline called early action. And so it's similar to early decision where you will apply early in November or December, but when you get accepted, you do not have to make a commitment to that school. You just know that you're getting in early. And so that's a great opportunity for students because you'll find out in November, well, you'll find out in December or January that you have been accepted to some of the more selective colleges. Because most students don't find out they're getting accepted to colleges until February and March. Now you have heard of a lot of students being accepted now because schools have started to become much more competitive. And so they will start letting students know earlier, and earlier. Okay. So let me see, we have a couple of questions in the chat. So what is the best time to send out applications as a junior going into senior year? That is a great question. So applications will open up now. They keep opening up earlier and earlier. So now they open up as early as March. The Common Application does open that early. And there are some schools that open in August as well. But most of the colleges really can't send you any letter of any acceptance until later in December. I mean, later in September, early October. So September, October are great times to get those out. Some students pretty much will send their applications in August or September, and then the teachers and counselors will start sending in letters of recommendations and transcripts once we come back to school. So no one's deadline is going to be in the summertime. No one's deadline is going to be in September. It might be at the end of September if it's some kind of specialty program, but typically no one has any deadlines in September. So they will start sending you that mail, making you nervous, making you feel like you really need to do something right now and get it in right now and stress out your teachers and your counselors. That's their job. They are a business. Their job is to get students. So, so just be careful when you get that mail, okay? How do you know what to choose for transcript, initial, and final? That is a great question. So you always going to put initial when the student normally puts it in there because their counselor is going to send their initial transcript. Some schools will ask for a mid-year transcript. And that's usually if you've done the Common Application or you've done like early decision or early action or one of those applications. The student does not have to send those. The student will send an email to the counselor and the counselor will send those transcripts out for the student. And then the final transcript, I actually send those. So we'll start taking surveys from students around May and June to find out what final selection a student made. And then the last 2 weeks of June, once all of the transcripts have been processed and what they call finalized, meaning that they're going to put a stamp on there that says graduated. It looks a little different than the transcript that you will receive at graduation. And then I will upload those personally based off of what students tell me. So you don't have to worry about submitting any final transcripts or midterm transcripts, but you do have to let us know. Because as fabulous as you guys think we are, we're not magicians, so we don't know where you guys are going to go unless you tell us. So what other questions do you guys have? These are great questions. And so while we're looking to see if there are any more questions, so just remember that building your list is like one of the most important things that you're going to do in this process. Because if you really don't take your time, go to some of these college fairs, go to some of these college sessions. And again, a lot of colleges now actually will let you come on campus and do visits, whether you do what's called a self-guided tour, which means they'll let you download some information from their website with a map and do your own tour, or they will actually do physical tours with you and maybe one or two other people. You might not be able to go into many buildings. You definitely won't be able to go into the cafeteria, but you will be able to get a sense of what the campus is like. And so any opportunity that you have, even if it's not a school that's on your list and it's nearby, just go and just take an opportunity and look at that particular campus, because you want to try to get as many looks as you can, whether it's physically, but definitely online on these YouTube pages. They have all kinds of different looks that you can look at the campus, the cafeteria, certain if you want to go into art, they may take you into the art department and show you every little nook and cranny of the art department. So you really want to take advantage of those. Okay. Any other questions? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right. Well, we thank you guys for coming on for our part 2 of our workshop. And let me just make sure I share my screen and put up the dates for the people who just came in so that you can see when our next dates are. Just hold on for a second. I should have put that at the end. There we go. So, so next month on Tuesday, March the 23rd, we're going to have financial aid basics, and Citizens Bank is going to come and do a presentation on financial aid. Then April the 26th, how to make sure that the college is a good fit. So we're going to go into even much more detail about that. And then Tuesday, May the 24th, experience and expectations of being a college student. Okay, so we're going to talk about, you know, how to best support your students, and just some terms and things that you may hear about college settings that you don't know. Well, April 26th is a Monday. So whatever that Tuesday is, it's always going to be on Tuesday. Thank you for that. I'll make sure that I correct that for the next one. All right. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming to our TED Talk. And again, thank the interns so much for doing a fabulous job on their presentations. And so I'm going to stop the recording now. If you want to look at part 1, I meant to email out the last time and I forgot. I'll email that out, but it's also on our YouTube page. So this one will go up by tomorrow afternoon. Okay. So thank you guys for coming, and I'm going to stop the recording now.